All right, listeners. Well, this guy is no stranger to most of you out there. If you're a home inspector, which I think 99.9% of the audience of the Successful Home Inspector is, Mr. Nathan Thornberry. How are you doing, Nathan?
Excellent, outstanding. Good to be here, and thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Nathan, there was quite a shakeup. I guess it's been about 3 weeks to a month here or something. No, 3 weeks, I guess.
3 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. But before, I mean, there might be a handful of people who don't know who Nathan is. I'll kind of give an introduction. You can fill in any holes.
That is so disappointing, by the way. It's true. There are, after 22 years in the business, and I'm the one hosting the events now. I mean, there was only two big inspection events in the entire industry in the last 24 months, and we hosted both of them. And I'm in Orlando, where we hit like 400 people or something like that. It was an amazing success considering everything. And I've, kind of famously picked up the pieces from, one of our legacy associations dropping the ball. And I'm in the bathroom, and, this guy sees me, and he saw that I was on stage, and, he stops me in the bathroom to ask me what we do. What? Really? But no, it's true. Like, there are people that have no idea. I've been quiet, I guess. So you can tell them who you think I am, like in your words, Preston. That'd be fun.
All right. But for all the listeners out there, I'm sure a lot of people are wanting to get to the porch stuff, which we will get to. But let me set the table here for a second, just in case you don't. So Nathan grew up in a home inspection family in Indianapolis, mother and father, family business, I guess second generation, but now you got third generation. Grew up doing the inspections, handling complaints, pretty much all of that. And then I'm assuming you saw some needs that inspectors needed. In fact, that's where I first met you. I think you had started a call center, and I don't know, it's probably like 15 years ago in Vegas. I was very unhappy with my call center at the time, and you were starting a call center. So that's how we met. Then you expanded it to recall check, warranties, maybe not in that order, but different services, home warranties. Now you're into radon, but it's inspector services. Basically, I think you were providing things that I guess you saw from your parents' business that inspectors could do to provide more services, more value to their clients, that sort of thing. And that's where we are. It's Residential Warranty Services, I think is the name of your company. And there's multiple parts of that, which we'll get into. There was a sale, and I think you retained some of it, but how did I do there?
No, just fine. 2009 Palazzo, the Casey O'Malley show. You and I met at the behest of Russ Collio in the back of a bus. In fact, the last row.
Oh, going to the go-kart.
On the way to the go-kart, where Meg was going to set a land speed record. And she was literally, as we were talking about the call center, and Russ was describing, the level of service that we deliver, comparing it to what you were experiencing elsewhere. Meg was on your, giant Preston arm like this. We gotta do this. And by then, like 2 weeks later, I think was the first time you guys were officially clients.
Yeah. So good stuff. So you've built the company up. Warranties, that sort of thing. So that brings us to recently. I guess you have sold a portion to Porch. I'll let you explain kind of what that is, but I obviously have some questions, and I'm going to come from an inspector standpoint, or what there's a little angst out there. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'll let you go ahead and kind of explain it first, and then I'll ask you questions.
Well, there is some angst, and I think some people teed up the angst for me. So, I end up having to swing at a foul ball, and just make the best of it. And I think we've done that. But basically, the transaction as it stands is includes our warranty services, so our service contract business. The inspector services group, those same packages, the inspector version. So warranties on the inspection side, recall check, next inspect, and sensibly, as it really works as a package deal, RWS insurance services. So those portions of the business will be moving over to Porch as of the official closing date, but we've already signed. We're already working with the Porch team on a regular basis. They've had people come over and work with our employees, because like you guys see it from your perspective, which any angst, any question, certainly valid and deserving of my time and attention. But my primary goal in week one was to take hundreds of people who depend on their livelihoods and how they support their families and feed their children. Their job was changing, right? So you have some angst. Their whole world is like, whoa, what's going to happen? So we focused on them a little bit, but we got the message out, and I think we did a good job.
I guess coming from an inspector standpoint, and the general worry is data. I mean, when this whole thing went down with Porch and ISN, I mean, there was a lot of angst, a lot of anger. A lot of home inspectors felt like their data wasn't going to be safe, or they were going to be given their data. And I mean, you look up Porch online, you're like, well, what's Porch all about? I mean, it seems like they've evolved a little bit. In the beginning, it seemed like they were doing, putting up TVs and things. They were kind of providing that, you buy stuff, but you're not a handyman,
Sure.
installing, putting beds together, putting up TVs and things like that. But I looked before this interview, like, what exactly are they doing now? And it seems like they've evolved to basically, when somebody moves, they're providing or trying to provide insurance, alarms, still the handyman services, but they've added a lot more. From a home inspector standpoint, I think what most home inspectors, including myself, are worried about is our data. I mean, why would Porch be interested in the home inspection business? I mean, what's their long-term plan, I guess?
Well, I mean, I'd let Matt Ehrlichman speak for that, but it's a publicly traded company at this point. So what's their long-term plan? To make money, for sure.
Yeah, but how does that involve? Why are they interested in home inspectors and home inspector scheduling? And, how does that puzzle fit? I mean,
well, they're not just interested in that. And that was a big part of why, now was the time for us to engage with each other. 6 or 7 years ago, it's been long before the ISN transaction. In fact, Matt Ehrlichman walked in my door, asked me all about my business. I took a bunch of notes, offered to buy my company, and then rode a plane home with the news from me directly and immediately that I was not interested. and that's the response that I gave him for years. We kept in touch. We worked together on some levels, but there was no interest from me in selling to Porch. I had some of the same concerns that you did. I'm a home inspector's son first, by the way. So, I get the potential, and the way that they entered into the industry with a bang with ISN, which is very different than this, and I'll go through those ways, very respectfully. But this is a better deal. This is better for inspectors. It's better for everyone involved, and it's involving a better company, and one that has something that they didn't have back then. They bought an insurance company. When they first came into the industry, there was no view into their financial condition and how well they were doing and whether they could support a long-term business like ours. We've been around since 1988, been the largest vendor in the home inspection industry by a multiple. And in order to feed that and continue to grow it and go from a couple hundred employees supporting inspectors every day to 500 or 600, whatever it's going to take over the next 5 years, that's going to need some serious horsepower. and somebody who gets home inspection. So for whatever reasons they have for being in home inspection, I think they're somewhat obvious, but I'd let them speak to that. For me, there was a porch I would not have dealt with 6 years ago. There's a porch I would today.
That's, that's part of the angst. I mean, when this thing happened with ISN, a lot of home inspectors were mad. And you yourself had a meeting in Raleigh, and it was primarily, I was there, a lot of other inspectors were there, were people who were angry at Porch. And we're going to start a different scheduling system and that sort of thing. And that's part of what you sold. Now I know what you're going to say. I know you're going to say, well, nobody joined it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, we did all right, but as far as the what I would call the big companies at the time, yours included, understandably, there was some anxiety about switching, right? I mean, making a move in your business, even after, the big evil data collector buys your administrative software, you're still on it.
I'm sorry.
You're still on ISN, correct?
Correct. Well,
okay. All right. So for 6 years, you've been feeding the beast every bit of your information in your business, and not making any moves. So, that's not something that's not a decision you made lightly to stay there. You made it because it was working well, because it continued to be supported, at least to the extent that you needed for your business, and it was going to be too much pain for you to move.
Well, so that's just a basic decision. Is your pain to move greater than your pain to, but
totally. But 6 years later, you've been a partner of Porch for 6 years. So can you describe any?
Well, I've been a customer of ISN.
Sure. But that this,
and so are a lot of home
regardless of the semantic differences there, which they, words matter. Can you describe in any way a manner in which Porch and ISN have harmed you since?
Well, and initially, I can't recollect all the facts, but initially there was a thing that came out that was like when it first went down, that there was a change. We were forced to sign this thing or we couldn't get into our ISN system. And, I don't have all the facts right in front of me, but I know that home inspectors made a huge stink about it. And then they added a button that, from my understanding, was not planned to be there before. And the button was, if you share or not share. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way it stands now, you get it for free if you share, but you pay money if you don't share. And I certainly pay the money.
So,
I'm on that.
Well, and that's your choice to do. And they've respected that choice ever since they didn't respect that choice. So they come into the industry, and for about 2 weeks, it takes us all to figure out what the play and motivation is here. And then we call them out on it. And I'll take a little bit of credit, and only 10 to 15 hours worth of phone time between me and Matt Ehrlichman over that 1 week. No kidding. Every single night going through, here's what you need to do to undo this. Here's what you need to do to be all right with my clients, because they're going to absolutely storm out of the building. And, let's talk through this, because, you came in with not enough information, it would appear. So let me help you out. And so by the end of that week, we kind of came to the concession that there would be a button to opt in. And that's been the case ever since. So, I cannot tell you, and I only deal with thousands of inspectors, a single case over the last 6 years where an inspector said, Porch forced me to do X. Not once.
Right.
So,
well,
what's the going?
And I agree. I witnessed a lot of that, and thank you for that. But I also want to say that, so you kind of got positioned as the person to protect inspectors against Porch, or whatever, or the representative, can you now see why they're so upset? They feel like you've joined them now. It kind of felt like you were the representative to
Well,
represent them against Porch, and now you've joined them. So that's kind of created some angst and some, I mean, can you see from an inspector's, and hey man, I'm gonna tell you right now, if somebody offered me $33 million for my company, it'd be sold tomorrow. I mean, I don't blame you for building but can you understand the inspector's position? You know what I mean?
well, of course I can understand the position because, I only have home inspectors as friends and family. So I understand you guys pretty good. And, we've known each other a long time, but to your point of Nathan Thornberry stood up, and it was me. I mean, it was me on the phone with Matt every night. It was Cheryl Stutler, starting the fire online, but we closed up that issue. It wasn't an issue from there on. And yes, I looked like I suppose a guardian of the galaxy. And I still am. And in fact, this is so much different than, the transactions that I think inspectors had the most anxiety over, because now they're a publicly traded company. This is very likely to be their largest transaction in their company's history. It's not a $33 million deal. It's a $33 million down deal, just to be clear. So, come to the parties because they'll be amazing. We all have Matt Ehrlichman's credit card and, a little bit of extra cash too. And all are welcome. But, they've totally changed who they are. They're publicly traded. I'm probably the largest shareholder that you'll meet outside of Matt, and that puts me in a position to effect change from within. And we've been working together in many ways for the last 6 years. I mean, think of any example you can from any industry where a guy has a company has a 2-decade position with 25% of the industry, holds an industry event and invites their largest competitor in call center in ISN versus Next Inspect, and virtually gives them a booth to be right there with all their same clients and be competitive with them in the same room. So, we turned the whole thing on its head. We made it a positive. We made it something where there's innovation for inspectors. Not perfect, but it's definitely a different company than it was. And we're in a different position than anybody that's done a transaction. No disrespect to any of them, but we were in a different negotiating position. And I think it should be stated that I wouldn't have put everything in my life, including businesses that have enormous economic value today and continue to have that value, like Breeze and Priority Lab and about 25 other holdings in the inspection industry that we did not sell, that many of you use every single day. This whole ecosystem employs many people, including primary family members of mine, and pretty much my entire social network, including many lifelong friends. I would not have moved forward with this without having put in an incredible amount of thought into how it needs to go, and putting forth an incredible amount of effort to give it the best chance of going very, very well, and maybe even being an improvement. This isn't something that I took lightly, and it's so.
I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying. I kind of heard Dan Huber say some of the same things, but
yeah, but Dan Huber wasn't even close to where I'm at in this transaction, and he didn't have additional entities that do tens of millions of dollars in volume that he's retaining. Like, I can't piss you off that bad because, one, you're bigger than me, and two, you use a lot of other stuff that we do. So I'm not going
Well,
any.
I guess, here's kind of my thing, and I think a lot of inspectors feel this way. In the beginning, you said Porch's goal is to make money for their shareholders. That's what any corporation does.
As it should be.
And now, I get it. You raised an inspection family, you care about inspectors, but sometimes those two aren't going to go together. And what I mean by that is, kind of like the mom and pop store, that says, Amazon says, hey, come on, sell your stuff on Amazon. We'll give you a marketplace. But then, a year or two in, all of a sudden they got their database or their book of business, and, they just go around them and basically use them. That's what home inspectors are afraid of, that this is, becoming the Amazon of home inspection, or, what say you about that? I mean, that's kind of a feeling that's going on.
Well, let's turn this around just a little bit and talk about you and your business, because you are home inspection. I mean, you are my guy who, I'll likely be working for in one way or another for a very long time, perhaps my entire life. And I think I understand you and your friends and our friends pretty well. And, like many of them, you've done well, you've paid off your debt, you've sent your kids to college, you put some money away, and it's going to be time to consider, because, I noticed you didn't color your hair this week. I did. And, we're not getting any younger, but at some point we're going to be considering, if we're smart business people, and it's not just a job like it was for many 20 and 30 years ago, you're going to be considering an exit. And if you have a business of scale, one of the multi-inspector firms, especially one of the giant ones like yours, I've worked my whole career to help build these guys, and you have something to sell. That is the methodology by which you will convey your business to someone else. So are you abandoning your clients when you do that? Are you abandoning your people? Are you, how is it that you will avoid these things that you're concerned about with me?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but if I had kind of marketed myself as the anti, thing that I sold to, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's your business, it's your right to sell. It's my business, it's my right to sell. But is it a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, I guess, let me go back to this.
I mean, it sounds like the only problem, the only, we can't identify a problem that Porch has actually caused your business. We can identify positives that they have in the industry. We both agree that, conveying a business is selling it, and you'd have to do the same thing to divest yourself of any part of your business, which we only did that, just a part. And we're still here for all the rest of it, which is becoming the majority of what we do for inspectors. So, it sounds like the only thing that we really don't agree on is that, that I had to change my view on them to arrive here. And they had to change, and that might be something that isn't accepted by some, and that's okay. It will be, as they see me working with them, as they see them working with them, and they have to have that experience. There's no word that I can give you to convince you if you if you have anxiety. There's no words that'll make it better. There's actions. And so, let me know when something changes. I'll do the same for you.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned early that Matt came and tried to buy you, and you weren't interested, and you stayed in touch. At what point did that change? Did you, I mean, you didn't just sell it overnight. I mean, that a deal like that takes a while. I mean,
we've been having talks for 7 years. There was no serious talk until they bought Homeowners of America, the insurance company. That was a major turning point for me, because it's kind of like if you go to a restaurant that's not particularly high end, and you get the steak because you can't fake steak. This is the same thing in risk management. And so he wanted to be in the risk management side of things in my business. And I'm like, well, you don't have experience in it. You don't even have experience with this industry. You're pissing people off. I have no verification of how much cash you have. And I don't know if you can run a compliant book. These are all very important things when you're running a risk management business. And those things were not present or evident, at least 6 or 7 years ago. But once they actually owned an insurance company and had to do filings with the states and started expanding into more states, it's like, whoa, can't fake steak. This is a different company than it was. So that's when I engaged.
Now, you did mention, all right, so what has Porch done, and you're right. I mean, to me, they haven't really done anything. And,
you won't find anybody that says that they did anything other than, and this is a perfectly fine, I respect this criticism, other than, that if they had participated in some of their programs, that some of the sales pitches were a little rough, especially at the beginning. I do believe it's improved, but all the same, there's no compulsory nature to this. It's not like they're going to force you to take certain actions, but go on.
Well, I mean, as long as there's an option for people that don't want their data, shared or whatever. And I also realize, I stop and think about, what data is not already out there? I mean, the age of the house, that's already out there. The buyer, the seller, that's out there. I mean, that's public information. When somebody moves in a house, you don't have to have a home inspection. It's on the tax records.
You can pretty much buy all of it. And every time somebody brings up the value of data, I always offer them my parents' file cabinet room. There's about 300,000 inspections down there. Who wants them? Like, we got full files. The only reason that it has any value at all is because of timing and the ability to offer.
If you know the condition of something, that's the only thing.
Well, okay, so
somebody is in definite need of water heater right now, or or a roof right now. That's the only thing. You can look up Zillow, Realtor.com, MLS, whatever. It's amazing the amount of data that they already have.
Sure, yeah.
Without a home inspection.
So they do have all of that already. I do not believe, and I've seen no evidence that any of the indicators of a defect or an age of a water heater or any of that is being utilized to sell contractor services. I wish it were. I built a system to do that. It's called the CMS, and we launched it a couple of years ago. It's been in use by inspectors. I love the idea of that happening. The only thing I would, utilize my position to promote is, hey guys, Preston Sandlin isn't going to sign up for that unless he knows it's going to make him look good and it's going to make him money. So, you've learned your lesson. Come with a different offer, and let's see if we can get some people to try it again. That's not really my role to promote that, to be honest with you. I'm supposed to do exactly what I've been doing.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. I hope you're getting value out of it. I'm sponsoring, I guess, myself. I'm not really selling anything, but hey man, I thought I'd just tell you about, I do a little art on the side, PrestonSandlin.com. Check it out if you got some time. Kind of do some cool looking stuff, I think, but I understand that art is subjective. Also, I'll follow you back if you follow me on TikTok. I'm Inspector Crazy Pants. I'm Inspector Crazy Pants on Instagram. We have two on Instagram, Inspector Crazy Pants and Home Inspection Carolina. We are also, Home Inspection Carolina on Facebook, and you can check out our website, homeinspectioncarolina.com. But if you guys follow me, I'll follow you back. Comment, I'll try to comment back. I think it helps everybody's algorithm. So without further ado, I'll let you get back to the podcast. I just want to say appreciate you listening, and hopefully we'll see each other sometime at a conference. Thanks a lot. I guess me personally, though, or and a lot of other home inspectors, I don't want to be in a position. I mean, I've already started scoping out other scheduling systems just in case. No Porch hasn't done me wrong, but tomorrow, if they said, you either sign up for the free or it's $100 per, just something outrageous, or we're not providing. I mean, I do realize being dependent on any one vendor is dangerous for anybody's business. And because if they put the screws to you, I'm not saying they will, but it's just like wrestling or football. Don't give somebody all the other leverage. Totally, and right now, they completely have all the leverage in scheduling software because ISN is good. It's good, and it's the only thing in the market right now. ISS went out.
I think there's other platforms that that do, and again, I'm not insulting or trying to be disrespectful to people, but if you're looking for a system that has inspectors by the balls, look at all of the scheduling systems that have popped up and been expanded on that are also, a report software system. They really own both ends of that. And if tomorrow you don't like one side of it and you want to move the other side, it becomes increasingly difficult. So, the pain of disconnect there sucks. That I'm uncomfortable with. I really dislike.
Me personally, I don't like having report writing software and scheduling software all in one, because what if they sell? Then now, and you've got two things tied up. Again, you've given up a lot of leverage. Now, I'm kind of looking at just generic service business scheduling. I mean, sure. It's a good scheduling CRM combination, does a lot of things. But, the age of technology, it's kind of like, man, when a calculator first came out, it was $100. Now they give calculators away for free. It's like scheduling CRM software has now, I mean, there's a lot of them out there, that are like generic, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so many of them are connected to the report writers, which it does make me a little bit uncomfortable. I know it would make my mother uncomfortable if she didn't use a system from an old friend, Alan Carson. Like inspectors need a little bit of that connection. And that's part of why I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be around for a little while. And it would be, not necessarily a great idea to remove me from the picture. I think there is a little bit of an advantage, though, to some of the angst that I seem to cause people. Like, man, I cause them anxiety when I'm moving from point A to point B, which I'll explain in a second. But I also cause them anxiety when I'm passionate and about being in the room. So, there to some extent, you can't win. You're going to be hated by somebody today. So just, count the number. If it's less than yesterday, then, I guess I improved the number of friends I have, which doesn't matter to me that much. I like a lot of people in this industry, but, they're allowed to be unruly if they want to be. They're allowed to be disagreeable. I don't understand the logic of it. It's like, here's this guy that already threw the best freaking parties the industry's ever seen. And he just got a fat check, and your strategy is to insult. I mean, it's like, dude, you want to be on the list. You want to be on that list. You have no idea what kind of parties we're going to throw. It just logically, it doesn't make sense. What are they going to change by being unhappy? Here's the real thing that inspectors need to do. They just need to look at what happens. If it changes for the better, great. If it's neutral change, good enough. Nathan promised that he was working on that very hard, and that, the terms of this deal, lent themselves to that. And there was certainly a risk, holding out for those kind of terms for inspectors, that, that deal doesn't go forward. I took that risk. there's not a check here that's changing my lifestyle. I
Right.
have nothing on the list to buy. um, so we'll see. I'll definitely give a little more to charity. That'll be on my list. But,
Well,
but but let's talk about point A to point B, because you guys, particularly guys like you, that should be looking at an exit. Okay, we were there to build it. We should be there for each other to get rid of it. And when I say get rid of it, I don't mean in a bad way. We should do it in responsible ways. And I think I'll be a great example of that. Time will tell. But what is the best way to divest yourself of a part or whole of your business? You want to make sure you're taking care of your people. You want to make sure you're taking care of your clients. You want to make sure you're taking care of referral partners and your vendors as well. There's going to be change to some extent. It's unavoidable. It causes these kind of emotional reactions. But if they're positive changes, then that's all good. And if the bad stuff doesn't come along with it, then you've done your job. And all of us are really proud of our legacy. I don't think that you'd let somebody walk out the door, regardless of what kind of check they wrote you, with that HIC logo and bad intentions or incompetence, or a potential that all your people are jobless the next day. Like just not, that is not on the menu of things that are acceptable to you. Same thing with me. But like I said, time will tell. So
go ahead.
Well,
I was going to say,
I was going to talk about this point A to point B concept, because what you should be doing is going, how do I follow that, and have a why as to why you would do such a thing. Because I think people don't necessarily realize that as humans, we have to be moving forward to get something we need or something we want, making forward progress in order to be happy. Okay, like that's your baseline that creates happiness. And it doesn't matter where you start from. It doesn't matter what point A is. As long as point B is better, you're going to be happy that day. You're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel, the gold at the end of the rainbow, that sort of thing. So, in principle, we're always looking to move forward from a point A to a point B, like I did, like everybody does. But for most humans, point A, unfortunately, is a place of suffering or misery that, in our perception, and is. So, their whole goal is to go to point B, where there is a less sucky life. Thank God we don't have to deal with that. Our point A, for you, me, and all of our friends that have been pretty successful in this, and I would guess most inspectors, our point A is a fortunate place. It might have taken a bit of luck, some good social skills, the ambition of an entrepreneur to have a point A that was wonderful. And what's our point B? We want to take that scenario of point A that is a pretty good one. But then if we're doing it right, we're still moving forward and we're creating point B. So you have to have a point B, Preston. In your life, you have to have a point B of, where you're taking yourself and your family. So that's part of it. For me, I want to spend more time on environmental testing issues. It's kind of a passion for me. We do really well at it. I do a lot of it outside of the inspection industry. So, it's kind of a different pace. I don't see any reality where in the near term that anybody could take on some of the, like, those 1%er claims. I think I'm getting those for a little while. And I wouldn't have it any other way than making sure that you guys were taken care of. But maybe there's a little bit of making up for lost time with kids and stuff. We all work pretty hard. We didn't get here by accident. So That's
Let
it
me
for
let
me.
me ask you this. You talked about the exit plan. You talked about doing environmental testing. So just to be clear, I know you mentioned it to me before. Like, what parts of your business did you sell? What parts did you hold on to? And are like the part you sold the porch, are you on this deal like for 3 years or 5 years or whatever? Kind of like what Dan, I guess, did. Most people, when they sell a business, they have to stay on for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Are you being paid by porch, or is that part of your deal to stay on with them? And then when does that end? And what's your role? And where is Nathan in 5 and 10 years from now?
Well, again, there's some delayed compensation that's based on what I do over a period of many years. So I got my down payment. I got to make the rest of it happen, and I can't do that without being in the game. There are roles that vary depending on time from right now, and some of those roles go as long as 7 years. So they don't want me gone anytime soon. And like last night, just last night, I called up my guy because it's kind of a weird thing to have a boss in a way. like I've never for 22 years, I haven't had to call anybody and get approval. I just make a decision. But there was a decision to make last night that involved, more events, writing a check, and I write big checks for that. And I had to call my guy and say, all right, you're closing on this date. There's going to be a big ass bill due. Are we still doing things the same way? Because that's what I've been told. Are we doing it the same way? Yep, we're doing it. Move forward. Whoa. So, if they fire me, they fire me. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
So what parts did you hold on to, and what parts did you sell of your business?
Listing the parts that I held onto would be like a really long list. I mean, most of them are small things that you wouldn't care about necessarily, like homeinspectionagreement.com, that sort of thing. Some of them are big, like Priority Lab and Breeze for sure. Those are the big ones. And when you think about the way that Breeze and Priority Lab works with all of the other ISG stuff, you go, whoa, is this all going to remain connected tomorrow? Is everything going to work tomorrow like it did yesterday? Because, these systems have to be separated, right? Because I sold one part and retain the other. Well, here's the good news. Those systems were already separated. You guys didn't even notice. There was a little delay on your credit card billing for the month. So, just a benefit there, I guess. And they're working perfectly with the same API feed, so that, there's no disruption, and all of the features and benefits that you got from using one thing on one side of the business in the other side of the business, those all get, retained for our clients. That's a very complex contract, and that's a very close relationship.
Okay, so you still own the Breeze? Is that what?
Absolutely. And Ethan's running it, and he is doing a killer job. We had so much luck this month. We had our chamber got approved, so we no longer have to send all the radon machines somewhere else and wait for them to go through their process. We own it. And two, we had about 1,000 batteries, like these battery packs that were used in a bunch of our machines that were sitting in a boat off the coast of New Jersey. It came from China to New Jersey, and then they didn't have the staff due to COVID or whatever for several months to unload the boat. The boat sat there with stuff on it. It's like, are you kidding me? And so we had all these machines built up with everything but the battery in it, with the covers off, and orders waiting. I mean, that sucks. That's the worst part, is the supply chain over the last 2 years. That has hurt us more than anything. And we worked overtime, overnights for about a week and a half to catch them all up as soon as we got the batteries. So we are on all cylinders at Breeze. I'm really happy. And now we have every single type of media and environmental testing equipment, all of it. We do all of it. So we're no longer dependent on China, dependent on providers. I mean, there are environmental testing labs that are sending out like, Q-tips in a plastic bag for surface swabs. It's like, are you kidding me? You guys don't have the ability to pour some plastic, So we created a lot of jobs in Michigan as a result too. We do our own spore traps. We do a lot of plastics. So
You mentioned earlier, an exit strategy, and I'm combining this question with about Porch, and I know you don't, I'm trying to figure. I mean, nobody's just doing this. They have a future where they see themselves being, and I've interviewed Matt. I've talked to Matt. I've read stuff about Matt. Pretty impressive guy. He had another startup he started in his dorm room at Stanford that he sold. Did pretty well on that. I've also read where he said, this Porch will be his last one that he does, or that's his words, not mine. But all that sending me signals that he is going to build this and then he's going to exit. I mean, that's what I'm reading it from it. I could be wrong.
Well, is that a problem?
Well, it is. It's not a problem. It's the way things are done, but it does present a little bit, how people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And there's some trust issues if, like, people are promising you things and you're sitting there going, you might not even be here next year. I mean, it's kind of like a coach recruiting a player. Say you're a 5-star recruit, man, and this coach is coming into your living room and you got a lot of people recruiting you, and this coach is promising you everything. And then that coach leaves to another program and you're like, whoa, now I'm coming in with an unknown. I got a new coach and it's not the guy who recruited me.
I got news for you. It was unknown all along. In your example, the coach, he could have left at any moment. He could have had a heart attack at any moment. So, your condition really didn't change.
I know, but part of what sold him on that program was that coach. And, they're in their living room talking to their mom and dad.
What a moron. What an idiot. That guy. No, I'm serious. That guy did not.
In a way, are you or Matt not that coach at times? You know what I mean? You're getting us to persuade us.
In fact, no, I get to be a huge exception to that because all that shit I've been taking from home inspectors for a long time, particular ones especially. It's because of how passionate I was and how just direct and honest about everything. I never once gave any speech, had any sort of social event where my goal was to be, some likable dude. I didn't, if anything, I tried to be as unlikable as possible. And that wasn't really intentional, but I certainly didn't try to be likable out of principle. And that principle is that, there's a lot of affinity fraud in business, in my opinion. And this story of the coach from the university is a prime example. So here's this kid, future ahead of him, and his parents and he are trying to choose between colleges. And one of them, if they actually did great analysis, had the best future for him. But instead, the schmoozing coach came over and told him that their rug looks nice. And he got the business. That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. I don't do relationship marketing because it bugs me, and it bugs me when people get business because of a relationship. They shouldn't. Let's talk about home inspection in Charlotte, North Carolina. There are people that are wonderful relationship marketers that don't wear crazy pants, right? There's a few, and their product, not just in one way, in many ways, including some that we've worked together on for a better part of 15 years. These things are different than your competitor. I would like to think that if you were, a difficult person, a challenging person like me, that your amazing product that completely annihilates 95% of your competitors would carry you. I'd like to think that Mr. Crazy Pants could stop showing up tomorrow and somebody else could replace him, and the business would just continue on and continue to grow because of features, because of real value, and not value like the way that people say it today, where you go, wow, you don't understand the word value. Yeah, I'm talking value because when they moved in and they had a problem with their sewer line, they got a $2,000 check. Value should always have a dollar sign, and yours does. Now, you happen to also be a nice guy that does great relationship marketing, so you win. But yeah, so what else do we need to cover?
Well, just I guess there's some angst that when anything gets sold, that are we still going to, everybody going to have the same thing they had, or is Porch going to come in and change it all? And like, I guess that can you address?
So again, I think I've said this quite a bit. Porches every indication they've given to me, everything they've said to me is that they want business to continue as usual, that they want it to operate as a standalone, and that's the thing. Like, okay, keep it going. And everything that I've so far, I've kind of tested them. Don't tell them, but I've kind of tested them by pushing things like I did last night. I'll tell you about the thing last night. You're familiar with Inspection Go. We have booths there. We do these partnerships where they promote our event, we promote their event, and now Porch is involved. So is Porch going to continue to write that check? Because it's a big check, and you can't look at the ROI on it. You can't. There's no way that I could convince anybody with basic calculator skills that writing a check for 20 grand to Inspection Go is worthwhile when we already have everybody in the room using us. Like, what are we getting out of that? And I was able to call Porch and say, my guy at Porch, and say, here's what we're getting out of that. And so if you want that to continue, if you want those relationships to be the way they are, if you want me or somebody else, Mike Dorr, et cetera, all the same people that you've been working with, by the way, to have a seat at the table, they got to be a prime sponsor. So
are Mike Dorr and what's the other guy's name? Landon, all these guys are still there. Do they still have the same authority to handle claims and stuff like that? Or is Porch going to say, no, you're not paying that anymore? Or I guess that's something.
Again, nothing has changed on that front. Nothing. The people handling it, the processes for it, nothing. Like literally the only thing I had to do to prepare for transition was take the system for Priority Lab, system for Recall Check, split those up, but combine an API. And then let's see, we divided up the billing, and I had to call my payroll processor and figure out how to split off, the employees that are going versus the employees that are not, and their benefits. That's it. They didn't move a single desk, phone, person, nothing. In fact, I always wonder like what I can say, but I think I can say this. In fact, some of your favorite people, they wanted to make sure that they were going to stick around for a while. So, they had that conversation with them.
Right. Well, I just got one or two more questions. I know we're up against an hour.
Whatever
my daughter's
talk about.
My daughter's got to use this for tutoring or something too. So sorry.
Well, tell her I'm sorry that I wasn't. The timing didn't work this time for Fort Lauderdale. I truly enjoyed taking you guys down last time, and we got to go back to that Casa del Mar and get some. Get every appetizer.
Gotcha. I'm a free market guy. I know there's always like this protectionism and all this, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And I know that there's this rush. Us inspectors, we want to keep doing things the way it's always been done. And I get that. And I am an inspector. I mean, it's how I sent my kids to college and how I fed them and everything else and how everybody works. But I know there's a fatal flaw in always doing things the way it is. I mean, the thing now is technology and making it easier for the consumer. I mean, look at Amazon, look at Uber, look at, and I'm trying to look at Porch and see, I know that's what they're trying to do. I guess they're trying to do that in the home buyer, home seller space, to be the get on your phone, get everything done, just make it simple for the consumer. And, I'm wondering if that, get an inspection, get a loan, get insurance, get all of it. So I'm just wondering if we are roadkill in that process, or we, where do we, fit in, and again, I'm a free market guy, but I'm also a home inspector. I mean, you're a smart guy. Where do you see Porch going? I mean, they're obviously want to make it easier for the consumer, want to make money for their shareholders. Where do you see Porch in 5, 10, 15 years?
I don't care, and you shouldn't either. Do you see? So,
well, I care if I'm going to be roadkill. That's the part I care about.
Well, so let's talk about the roadkill issue, because that's really the important part.
Right.
Okay. So, you can tell the level of success that someone is going to reach in their life. Knowing that they're going to have a career, that they're going to pay their bills, that's pretty easy to determine. Like they work and they have some ambition. But if you're looking for somebody that's going to be truly successful, you can basically, get to that figure of where they're going to end up by figuring out how open they are, just their level of openness. Because when they're not open, when they're I know there were a few guys talking about me on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and I get it. Like they were pissed and frustrated and whatever, but really they had a lack of openness to it. And what did that do? It took away their whole day. It took away their whole week. Nothing but negativity. While people that are open are calling me going, hey, tell me about the opportunity here. Tell me about what you see happening, like you just asked, but I'm going to leave that open because, there's a lot of possibilities, but people are calling me going, okay, I have this in the works. What should I do with this? And it's like, okay, that's a pretty smart move to call the guy that's basically in charge of the thing. I mean, still CEO last time I checked, and say, hey, here's my plans. How is this likely to fit with the next revolution here? And that's good, but you can analyze everything in your own way if you're open to it, and then you can ultimately come to a conclusion that is positive or negative, but you came to the conclusion based on some objectivity. People that are pissed, they're not, and it's hurting them, and that bugs me, because I really don't like to harm home inspectors. Like we fret about things like missing a phone call or whatever. So
right.
That's my answer. If you're open, just applies to everything in your business. You're going to naturally become flexible. You're going to naturally be prepared. You're going to, wherever it goes, which person's going to be more prepared? The one that was asking the right questions, or the one that's pissed? Pretty obvious.
I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah, I know. But if you ever need help with that, just send me a text, send me an email. We'll get on the phone and we'll try to work that out. But you should really, I can't stress this enough. I was the first in the industry to be really active in buying up a lot of businesses and a variety of businesses, and then sharing that with a group. If you recall, we had this, one of our top meetings atop the Sonesta with a pretty famous guy. I won't drop a name at the moment, but a great friend of mine. And he also holds the title for the most acquisitions in American history. And he did it as the CEO of a publicly traded company. The dude's a badass. And, you know, when we got 90 inspectors into that room with this 360-degree water view, and we're listening to this guy's war stories while also getting tips on how we, you know, how we start that acquisition conversation. You know, that was one side of it. And the to summarize what we said, what we dealt with was, because he's helped me on some acquisitions on a consultative basis, and his name's Dennis, and he's been at the table with me with somebody that was selling their business to me, and I get hot-headed. I don't even know I'm doing it, but he recognizes it, and he'll just say, "Yeah, well, let's sleep on this. We'll come back to it tomorrow." You know, and he'll just end the thing because he wants to always keep the door open. Always. Think if he had ever closed any of those doors, you know, it would suck. And so, you know, that kind of started this trend of buying businesses in the home inspection industry, and you know, for not just, you know, large businesses, but, you know, your business. I mean, your business is pretty large, but for everyday inspection business owners, multi-inspector firms, we gave them a way to buy, and they've been doing it. They've been doing a great job. And now we're going to have the same conversation, but we're going to have it in reverse because, well, honestly, we're still the young guys. I don't know how that is. Like we legit are still the young guys. In this
I'm not that young anymore, as you can see. Man,
well,
this light is not good for my gray hair either.
But you know, when you go to an inspection conference, what the, you know, average inspector looks like. You know, I'm not being insulting. I'm just being honest. You know, it's a double ARP kind of situation, and what, you know, we need to make sure that these guys have you know, the knowledge to divest. And for guys like you that have built an incredible business, you know, be pissed at me all you want, but, you know, stick me with the dinner bill. I don't know, do something.
Well, again, I don't blame somebody for selling their business. I don't blame somebody for, I mean, again, if I could, you know, I just, you know, obviously for the things that I mentioned, but I'll get over it.
I just want you to have, when you run into it, because you have a very real possibility of, you know, being in the category of multi-million-dollar purchases in this industry. And when that happens, I want you to maximize it. I want you to maximize it because you were open to it. And I want you to, you know, think, well, gosh, Nathan's in this room with, you know, a guy like Matt Ehrlichman for the better part of a year. What all they had to discuss is like, you know, mind-boggling. And that's just for a part of this business. Your business is going to be a similar situation. How do you make sure that that next guy is taking care of your clients? How do you involve your employees? How do you involve your clients? How do you roll out the kind of press on it? The, you know, the notifications. You know?
Yeah, I get that, but so, maybe you want a family member to continue it too. You know, you want
could be
the same for them. You know,
could be. And you know, I have Ethan at Breeze running that thing right now. He's up to almost 30 people. He'll be at 100 people within 24 months, no doubt. Yeah. He's killing it. And you know, so
last question for you. Yep. Top. What's the future of Top?
You know, you almost have to define Top because, you know, people don't know. Again, if I had a change to report, I would tell you I'm so honest, and I never sign anything that limits what I can say. I've never done that in my career. You know, like everybody wants to, you know, you do a deal and it's like, you know, here's what you're going to say. Here's how we're going to approve press releases and all that stuff. But I like I like to have my integrity. I like to have my reputation. And the only way I maintain that, like whatever happens in all this, which I think it's going to go well. If I'm not honest with you about it, if I call a purchase a partnership, for instance, that sort of stuff, I'll step in it with inspectors. And there were a lot of lessons learned the hard way by my good friend Dan. And I'd watch him. God, it was painful some days. And
Where is Dan now? I mean, or is I
no,
haven't seen.
nobody knows. No, I think he's still in Vegas. But you know, he got he got punished a little bit, and he got punished for somebody else's decision making, and that all got solved. But
And
I'm
let
not
me clear the record. I mean, Dan was always good to me. I don't have a problem with Dan.
He was good to everybody. It was a frustrating time. And if there's one thing that if you're in the category of the 100 or 200 people that me and Dan knew well, that you haven't heard from or reached out to him a little while. I think it's time to put that chapter behind. Recognize it was a mistake by somebody else. Recognize that once you're in that deep, your ability to deal with it directly isn't that great. And Porch had to learn some lessons, and they did, and nobody got harmed. So, a lot of people have congratulated me. I'll tell you this. I thought that we would have a little bit more of a negative response than we did. We had a very limited negative response. We got nothing but congratulatory messages. And I've been calling all around to, just to check in on everybody. And it's been very positive. And I think Dan should have, and Chris, I think they should have gotten some of that. And I think they didn't. So if you feel like you could go back in time and congratulate Dan, he's still around.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for your time, brother. Is there a way, like anybody who listens to this or watches it, can they have any follow-up questions, email or?
Oh, I want them to. I am the most accessible. I'm the most overly accessible business owner to my own detriment. Send me an email, nathan@nathan.tv, and we'll connect. And I mean it. Anybody who has any level of discomfort at all, we will have a personal conversation about it. And if that involves meeting up for a meal, we can do that too.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Nathan. I appreciate your time, brother.
All right. Thank you, Preston.